Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we will explore who Ash Williams is. One of the most iconic, genuine, and brave characters in horror cinema is Ashley Joanna Williams, better known as Ash. Throughout his fight against the unknown, he has proven to be much more than just a simple protagonist. Unlike many classic figures of the genre, Ash is an ordinary guy, but with an unshakable will and an arsenal that turned him into a legend. The most recognized image of this character shows him wielding a sawed-off shotgun and a chainsaw where his hand once was, an unforgettable postcard from horror cinema, especially since his appearance in Evil Dead 2. Created by director Sam Raimi, Ash is the only character who appears in all the entries of the Evil Dead saga, being, so to speak, the chosen warrior to face the ruthless Deadites. That's why, in this video, I will take you through a detailed journey of Ash Williams' fascinating story and origins. We will start with a complete summary of his journey across the different movies, unraveling how he became the icon he is today. Afterward, we will delve into his physical appearance, explore his complex personality, and of course, analyze his impressive abilities, as well as his most well-known weaknesses. Ash's story begins on April 8, 1957, in the town of Elk Grove, Michigan. The son of Brock Williams, he was the only male child in the family until the birth of his half-sister, Cheryl. From an early age, his life wasn't easy. The departure of his mother marked the beginning of a difficult childhood, filled with family tensions with his father and sister. During his teenage years, Ash formed a close friendship with Chet Kaminsky, his partner in mischief and underground parties at Brock's house during high school. They also crossed paths with a guy named Thomas Helbling, a hall monitor, whom they frequently teased for his excessive desire to enforce rules. It was also in those years that Ash met Linda Wise, his first great girlfriend. However, that relationship would end, and later, he would begin a new romance with another young woman named Linda, the same one who would accompany him on the iconic trip to the cabin. Additionally, during this period, Ash received one of the most iconic gifts of his character, the 1973 Delta 88, courtesy of his father. Ash also worked for a time at the S-Mart store, where he would cross paths again with Linda. In October 1982, Ash, his sister Cheryl, Linda, and their friends Scott and Shelley decided to spend a weekend at a remote cabin in the Michigan woods. There are two versions of how they arrived at the place. One says that Scott knew the owner, and the other says they simply heard rumors about an abandoned cabin. What began as a relaxing getaway soon turned into a nightmare. While exploring the basement, the group finds a recorder belonging to Professor Raymond Noby, a previous occupant of the cabin, along with a mysterious book covered in human skin, the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis. When they play the tapes, they hear passages from the book read aloud, unknowingly releasing the Kandarian demons. One by one, Ash's friends are possessed by these dark forces, turning into Deadites. Amid the chaos, Ash is left as the sole survivor. In a desperate act, he throws the book into the fire, causing the possessed bodies to decompose. But the threat doesn't end there. At dawn, the spirits return with fury. Ash is thrown into the air and briefly possessed, but the sunlight saves him at the last second. He tries to escape, but the bridge has been destroyed, and darkness pursues him once again. In the midst of the panic, he crashes his car and is forced to return to the cabin. There, in a scene now legendary in horror cinema, Linda, now possessed, attacks him and bites his hand. Watching the demonic infection begin to take control, Ash makes a brutal decision. He amputates his hand with a chainsaw. Shortly afterward, Annie Noby, the professor's daughter, arrives at the cabin with lost pages from the Necronomicon. While her hope was to close the portal and stop the demons, her companions also fall victim to possession. Once again, Ash is forced to fight for his life. In the climax, the pages reveal a ritual that allows the demons to take physical form and be sent through a temporary portal. Thus ends one of the most intense and heartbreaking chapters in Ash Williams' life, who, against all odds, survives once again to face the forces of evil on yet another hellish day. After surviving an infernal confrontation with the forces of evil, Ash Williams is dragged through a portal that throws him directly into the past, more precisely, the year 1300 AD. In this era of swords, castles, and superstitions, the villagers identify him as the Chosen One, a savior sent from the heavens to free the world from the terror of the Deadites. And it is here that Ash not only must fight against an army of darkness, but also face a demonic version of himself, known as Evil Ash, in a fierce battle for control of the Necronomicon, the cursed book that could condemn all of humanity if it falls into the wrong hands. During his time in this medieval era, Ash replaces his famous chainsaw with a metal prosthetic that he designs himself, demonstrating once again his incredible ingenuity. Finally, after defeating the army of darkness, an elderly wise man gives him a magical potion that puts him into a deep sleep. When he wakes up, centuries have passed. It's 1982, and Ash is back in his hometown of Michigan. But far from being welcomed as a hero, he is treated like a monster. No one believes his story. He is accused of having murdered his sister, his girlfriend, and his friends during that fateful weekend at the cabin. Society marginalizes him, rumors condemn him, and soon he earns the nickname Ash the Killer. But the real breaking point comes when, in the middle of a shopping mall, a woman possessed by a demon attacks him. Ash survives, as always, but this new encounter with evil leaves an indelible mark. Many fans believe that it was this event that led him to give up everything: his job, his home, his past. He simply disappears. Decades later, Ash returns to Michigan and tries to live a normal life. But the calm is only temporary. 30 years after that night at the cabin, an aging and completely drunk Ash makes a fatal mistake. He recites passages from the Necronomicon, reactivating the demonic terror. This act sets off the events of Ash vs. Evil Dead, a series that marks the return of the toughest and craziest Deadite hunter in cinema. And so, this is how Ash Williams becomes the worst enemy of the forces of evil. Now that you know his story, it's time to take a deeper look at who this man really is, the one who has fought against hell itself. Ash is not the classic hero. He's rude, egocentric, sarcastic, and sometimes seems on the verge of madness. But it is precisely these flaws that make him so human and so lethal. Bruce Campbell, the actor who has brought Ash to life from the very beginning, has said that his character is an expert in nothing except for one very specific thing: annihilating demons. Throughout his adventures, Ash has proven to have pretty solid combat skills, a natural talent for mechanics, and an incredibly creative mind when it comes to improvising weapons. He has built everything from prosthetics for his amputated hand to explosive traps, special shotgun holsters, and even an armored vehicle he dubbed the Death Coaster. In the original script of Army of Darkness, it's suggested that Ash studied engineering at the University of Michigan, which would explain his ability to design all kinds of devices with minimal resources. His emotional evolution is also remarkable. In The Evil Dead, we see him as an ordinary guy, nervous, trapped in a nightmare he doesn't understand. But with each film, Ash changes. He becomes a tough, charismatic, and brave leader. Although his behavior is arrogant and mocking, behind that facade is a man deeply affected by loss and suffering. That emotional scar leads him to keep a certain distance from others, but it also makes him someone willing to sacrifice himself for the good of the innocent. Among his most iconic weapons are his sawed-off shotgun, the legendary Boomstick, and of course, the chainsaw that replaces his right hand. Both tools, wielded with brutal mastery, have turned Ash into a living legend within the horror genre. And that's all we know so far about the iconic Ash Williams, the man who defies death time and time again. This character, who has transcended in horror and comedy cinema, has earned his place in popular culture through his bravery and dark humor. He reminds me of those classic heroes, but with a unique touch that only Ash can have. But now I want to know your opinion in the comments. Did you already know Ash Williams and his story? What do you think of his evolution through the films and the series? And finally, if you could face the Deadites alongside him, do you think you could keep up with him? Share your answers and your general view of Ash Williams and his legacy in the Evil Dead universe. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. If you liked it, share it to help the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos.